Every team in action tonight has just 3 games left. Every other team around the NBA, they only have 2 remaining. So game number 80 for basically everybody on this 5-game Thursday night slate around the association. And a huge one, Vecchio, in the grind city in Memphis between the Grizzlies and the Timberwolves, for 2 teams trying to battle their way out, if possible, of a play-in tourney spot. Minnesota, an ever so slight favorite against Memphis, 1.5 in the spread, now minus 130 on the money line. You see some market movement there. Over under 232. It is basically a pick 'em tonight in Memphis. Who gets the dub?
I think the Timberwolves will ultimately come away with the win, but I do not expect this to be a high-flying game. I'm not going to say Memphis is a good defensive team because they're not, but at least they've been playing somewhat better over this 3-game stretch. Granted, when those games against the Hornets, 1 win against the Heat, it's not some amazing offensive team, but they're at least playing a little bit better, and that's what they need ending out the regular season and, of course, heading into the playoffs. But specifically in this game, I like Anthony Edwards under 28.5 points, despite the fact that I think Minnesota comes away with the win. Ant is a player that he has a wide range of outcomes because he's a little bit volatile. The shot volume will always be there for him. But when you look back at his recent game log, we're seeing games where he goes 2 of 11 from downtown, 1 of 10 from downtown, 1 of 11, whatever it might be. Like, the volume will always be there. And it can be a little bit scary to take an under on a player that's literally going to take 10, 15 threes. But I like that this game environment is going to be an intense physical, playoff type game. And that leads to Ant on the under. We will take the volatility on the under today.
We'll take a look at the New York Knicks and the Detroit Pistons. This line's certainly on the move. So when you take a look at the opening number at 5, early this morning it was as high as 5.5. Now we're seeing a crash down in the marketplace to 3.5 as a favorite for the Pistons, which is something you're going to see over the final couple days of the season, where you're just waiting to see who the actual starting lineup will be. 225.5 is the opening number on the total. Now, as you see on the graphic, to 228.5. Any thoughts today on the Pistons and the Knicks for you, Tom?
I don't mind the Pistons today laying the points. We have to double check the news on Brunson, if he's going to continue to play, continue to be on a minutes limit, because I believe that they're locked into the 4 seed, right? Or the 3 seed, whatever it is. Like, they can't catch Boston. They can't 3 seed. They can't fall down to the Pacers. So they don't have anything to play for. So Brunson coming back from the injury, will they get him out there for like 20, 25 minutes, get him in the flow of things, but ultimately scale him back as the game goes on? That could leave an opening for the Pistons to cover.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thought, I think, Vecchio. Detroit, by the way, still booked as an underdog more frequently this year than as a favorite. But that has really changed since the All-Star break, as Detroit has solidified its spot as a playoff team. The Pistons could catch the Milwaukee Bucks, who currently sit with the 5 seed and a 2-game lead over Detroit. Milwaukee in action tonight at home as well against the lowly New Orleans Pelicans, and Milwaukee is a 14.5-point favorite. By the way, for that game between the Grizzlies and the T-Wolves, Minnesota an ever so slight favorite. Vecchio likes the Timberwolves to win. If that is the case, we're back to an even stronger logjam. Minnesota, Memphis, Golden State would all be 47-33 with just 2 games remaining to end out this final week of the regular season. All right, DRS, to the NBA tonight. Marquee games along this 5-game slate. Really important one, as we shared in Memphis. Grizzlies and the Timberwolves. Right now, Memphis on the right side of that play-in tourney bubble. They are the 6th seed in the Western Conference, but not expected to win tonight. Those odds have flipped. It is the Timberwolves as a minus 130 money line favorite. What's your approach to this Memphis matchup?
Yeah, interesting. 234.5, that opening number. You see that graphic there, 233.5. Now it's down to 232, so that number is dropping. And also the Memphis Grizzlies overnight here in New Jersey opened up as that 1-point favorite, as you see on the graphic. Now we're seeing the Timberwolves -1, and it's high in some outlets, Ben, at 2.5 right now, which may determine who's actually in that starting lineup, or we're getting some of that movement. Looking at the anticipated starting lineups tonight, John Morant, Desmond Bane, Williams, Jackson, and Edey, and then Conley, Edwards, McDaniels, Randle, and Gobert here for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So usually I like to chase lines as it is, and there's a reason probably why this line for a 9:30 game tonight at 10 to 10:30 in the morning, let's just say, that we're looking at that shift. It must be somebody's getting word that maybe somebody's sitting out. I'll ride with that line movement. I'll take the Timberwolves here at the -1.5 points.
Yeah, DRS, because the projected starting 5 for the Grizz is their regular starting 5. Yeah. Memphis has started to figure things out after the dismissal of head coach Taylor Jenkins to be now in that 6th spot. The Grizzlies, with their win earlier this week, cashing my favorite preseason win total bet over 46.5. They have 47. But again, if the Grizz lose tonight and Minnesota wins alongside Golden State, who lost at the buzzer last night in a game they can ill afford to lose against the shorthanded San Antonio Spurs, all three of those teams at 47 and 33, trying to determine who will play in the 7-8 matchup in the play-in tournament on Tuesday night and who will be the 6th seed just immediately into the Western Conference playoffs. Some pretty good theater down the final 3 days or so of this NBA regular season. Not much still at stake for the New York Knicks. They are going to be the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. They've got a 2-game lead over the Pacers, who also play tonight. Technically, they have not locked it up, being the Knicks, but they can't catch the Celtics, of course, for that 2 seed. So New York still with something to play for in a 3.5-point road dog tonight against Detroit. Of course, the Knicks in overtime in a really critical and crucial game on Tuesday night. DRS came up short against the Boston Celtics, now 0-6, 0-7 this year against the C's and the Cavs, and 0-7 against the spread. How about as an underdog tonight on the road in the Motor City?
Interesting, too, because that line overnight opened up as a 5-point spread and a favorite for the home team, the Detroit Pistons, now dropping to 3.5 live, and also the total, 225.5, actually rising 3 total points now to 228.5. You're down a couple starters in the anticipated starting lineup tonight for the Knicks. Brunson, McBride, Bridges, Achua, and Karl Anthony Towns, and you see the normal starting 5 here for Detroit. But as you said, still something to play for the Knicks. The Pistons, I don't really know how much they can move out. Can the Pistons actually move out of the 6th seed at any point right now? I'm not so they can. So both teams. So we're getting a no and a yes.
Well, they can't fall back. They can catch the
can
Bucks,
move higher.
but that's unlikely. They can't. Yeah. They can't fall back into the play-in tournament, though. I think, which is what Donnie was asking, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So with the drop here at this point, that 3.5, I think I might be buying into the Knicks a little bit right now. Still something to play for at this point. Line dropping from 5 to 3.5. I might take the 3.5 points in this game, but these are so tough to handicap just based on what we're actually going to see out of the starting lineups in a couple hours.
As we said, the Pistons have been booked as a favorite far more often in the second half of this season after the All-Star break than they did early on. Detroit, though, has dropped 4 of its last 5. They haven't played since Monday. Yes, the Pistons can theoretically catch Milwaukee, but they trail the Bucks by 2 games with only 3 games remaining. Milwaukee, a 14.5-point home favorite tonight against the New Orleans Pelicans. But Detroit cannot fall in to a play-in tourney spot. The 4 teams in the Eastern Conference that will be in the play-in tournament have already clinched those spots. Just got to figure out some seeding. The Cleveland Cavaliers, big home victory on Tuesday night, DRS against the Bulls, as was anticipated. Because of it, the Cavs have clinched the 1 seed. They're good. They're a 9.5-point road dog tonight in Indianapolis because of it.
Hammer them. 9.5. I think it goes to 10.5 at this point. Double-digit victory for the Pacers tonight. The Cleveland Cavaliers, hey, eyes on the prize. It's a championship. Not tonight in Indy. They get beat.
The Pacers could catch the New York Knicks for that 3 spot. Do you want to play the Celtics? Do you want to play the Cavs if you reach the second round? DRS, enjoy the money line. More on the early line up next.